Hi, my name's Peter Beale. I'm with Local Land Services at Taree. We've been working on the Clean Coastal Catchment project, which is aiming at improving nutrient use across the Lower Manning catchment to improve the water quality of the estuary. One of the things we notice is that often we're running into wet conditions and it's difficult to do operations, and that aerial seeding, either with helicopters or drones, has really improved farmers' options to sow on time, fertilise on time, and get quite good even spreading by using the GPS marking and in difficult situations. So they're the advantages. I've got with me today Tom Middlebrook. He's out at Gloucester, and Tom, you've been using drones and aerial seeding for quite some time now.
Yeah, it's been part of our practice for a number of seasons, a number of years, for a wide array of different applications.
Yeah, and it's increased your ability to manage.
Very much so, particularly, we've had a few wet years in a row, so trafficability on paddocks has been tricky, and it's just given us that ability to act when the timing is optimum.
Yeah, okay. So there's three applications that we're using aerial seeding in, or spreading, is that we're sowing, we're fertiliser spreading, and we're spraying. So this paddock here was aerial sown with?
Yeah, so I did some oversowing for this paddock aerially. It was planted conventionally as well. Then the population wasn't great, so we topped it up with the drone, and then it was also hit with its post-germ application of urea as well before first grazing.
Yeah, okay. So in any farming enterprise, sowing on time is critical, and in fact, in many cropping areas, we talk about sow on time, sow on time, sow on time. So if you can sow in the optimum window, and for ryegrass, it's usually late March, early May?
Yeah, weather dependent. Yeah, once those 40-degree days sort of leave us, yeah.
Yeah, you get sowing. So when we sow on time, it sets up the whole year to do things that fit in with the season and get maximum production. So in some of the lower lying catchments, we find that either there's a threat of wet weather and rain, and that you won't get back on for several weeks. And there's a decision, if I don't sow now with an aerial seed and I wait for the tractor to be able to do it, I can be losing 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of grazing. Would that be what you've experienced?
Yeah, definitely. There's some areas of our milking platform which haven't seen seeding until relatively late in the season. You're then battling with things like temperature and day length, trying to establish feed when it's getting too close to the shortest day of the year. You can run yourself into a fair bit of trouble. So, and then if that area is not putting milk in the vat, well, it becomes quite a significant loss.
Yeah, so every day you're losing money by not sowing
Yeah,
on
exactly.
time.
Yeah.
So that's a really important point of why aerial seeding, whether it's drones or helicopters, has really got some incredible value, because it sets up the whole season. The other one is fertiliser too, is that again, it can be too wet to get back onto the ground, and by applying by air, you can get the fertiliser on time. Have you have been doing that, Tom?
Yeah, so I've done fertiliser a number of times, and it just guarantees that nitrogen boost is coming for that crop and pasture, I suppose, when it's really going to need it. Even though you're not going to be able to graze it, but it just means that days to first grazing, if the weather does dry out and it is trafficable, well, the feed's ready to go.
Yeah, it's good. And what about cost, compared to using a tractor or?
I mean, the costs are there, but it's probably for us on our farm and compared to putting a man in the tractor with our equipment and stuff like that, you probably add, maybe 25% on top of that. A lot of the guys will come in at around $50 to $70 per hectare. And yeah, by the time I pay someone to sit and use our equipment, we're not too far off the pace from that anyway.
So Tom, you mentioned with timing, getting that fertiliser on in very soon after sowing is really critical. Can you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just a very strong believer in a heavy hit of urea or a strong application of nitrogen to the plant 2 weeks post germination.
Right.
It just sees that that plant be able to be ready and deliver for first grazing in 30 days, early 30 days, and it just stops it dragging it out. I think, you need to look past the cost of that and understand what that value is of that milk coming, or those cows being on that feed, those few weeks earlier, truly are to the business. And we've been doing it for a number of years now, and it has never failed to deliver a strong result.
Yeah. So even on paddocks like this that work high key?
Yep, absolutely. The kike should be managed before sowing anyway. If you're looking for a good germination, it should be heavily managed with a mulcher, or taken off with a mower, or heavily grazed anyway. And absolutely, and probably even more so in a paddock where the paddock isn't bare and the plants that you're trying to grow are competing with a permanent pasture. Well, they've actually got competition in the paddock, so it's even more crucial for that paddock to receive extra nitrogen.
Yeah, so the ryegrass competes better with the kike.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I've seen too.
As the weather cools down and the kike, starts to slow up, having first grazing earlier with your plants, with your ryegrass plants established, after that first grazing really lets that ryegrass see the sun and come through and dominate.
Yeah, so that again is important why we're saying being able to sow on time, fertilise on time, really sets the whole season up and makes a much better production for the whole year.
Absolutely, yeah.
The other is spraying. The drones and helicopters are used for spraying maize when it gets too tall to traffic. Also the hills. You've got hills up here that are you've sprayed.
Yep. So a bit of a management strategy happening on behind us there across the next couple of seasons. So drone or helicopter, either way with the spraying, have both got their benefits and can be very accurate with the aerial spraying if you're looking to manage an area.
One thing I would say is that just because you can sow or spray doesn't mean you should. And there are some situations, for example, very steep land that are being sprayed and resown, but then there's no fertiliser, no follow-up, and often those situations to go back to weeds. But here you've got a program where you'll be spraying, taking out those weeds, fertilising, coming back to a really productive pasture. And
that's the plan, to try and turn it into some opportunistic milking platform when the seasons are right. But yeah, I have run myself into a corner by not follow-up fertilising previously, and it's not the best mistake to make.
Yeah, and if we want to grow pastures like this, we do need high fertility in it. But it also has great advantages that highly digestible grasses produce less methane in cows, and that has those sort of benefits. So that's all part of a strategy to have good long-term sustainability, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. A full circle effect.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, Tom. Thanks for your time.
No problem. Thanks for coming.